Welcome back to Conspired, where skeptics and believers come together to discover the truth.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
This will be our official first episode.
Yeah. Our first official episode of Conspired. Yesterday's was more of a pilot, getting to know who we are, what the podcast is going to be about. Just basically getting kind of a layout, so to speak. Yeah.
I thought it went well yesterday.
It went well, and I'm hoping that it will continue to do so. I'm hoping we don't have any conflicts when we're speaking about this. We tend to, I think we're both the kind of people where we get heated, I guess, when we're speaking about topics that we both feel so strongly about one way or the other. And
she doesn't mean heated as in we're going to be like choking each other.
No. Just like passionate. Want to convince the other person of our perspective. Like, why don't you see it this way?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, yeah, so let's get into it.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Okay, so the Mandela Effect is our first episode of Conspired. Now, like I said last week, the Mandela Effect is a phenomenon that I actually was only aware of, I think, 2-3 years ago. Something like that.
So that would be a year for me.
A year for you? Oh, right. Yeah. But no. And then during my research, I came to find out that this has actually been prominent since about 2010. So, and potentially even longer than that, people just didn't know what it was. In 2010, it was given a name. Like, it was acknowledged that this is a thing, this is happening, and this is the Mandela Effect.
So, who gave the name to this?
Okay, so there was according to my research, she's known as a paranormal consultant, and her name is Fiona Broom. And she actually came up with this term, the Mandela Effect, to explain this phenomenon known as collective misremembering of significant things in society and, like, our world.
It's also a psychological term, like misremembering.
Misremembering, yes, I think so. Well, you would know that. I wouldn't know that, but I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
But no. So once this phenomenon was kind of coined, a lot of examples of this started kind of popping up on the internet or around the world or TV, etc. And basically, the Mandela Effect is such. People are usually convinced that something in their life, whether it be a TV show or music or a brand, movies,
name brand of a specific food or a logo,
movie quotes. It could even be something as simple as a label in the grocery store. But what I'm getting at is that people are discovering that they've remembered these things being completely wrong. And it's not just like one or two people. Like, once someone put this on the internet that, hey, didn't this used to be this way? All these people, these masses of people are like, yeah, it did. What's going on? And it wasn't just one thing. It's like hundreds of things. Like, approaching like 500 things. Like, I kind of had to, when I was doing my research, there was like hundreds of examples, and I had to like really limit it. So like I kept it like 40 to 50 examples that I felt were the most prominent. But
well, as we were talking in the pilot podcast, that's why I was like, it'd be nice to know what you were researching, so that way I could be prepared for the rebuttal.
No, but this has got to be candid. I got to take you by surprise.
Let's throw me off, so that way I'll have to do research right here in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, but I guess the main misremembering actually came from the title of this phenomenon, the Mandela Effect. Some of you might remember this last name being of Nelson Mandela. And he was actually put into prison in about, I don't know what year he was put into prison.
He was put into prison in 1962.
1962.
He was the former president, and he was arrested. Don't ask me why he was arrested.
Former president of where? Where? Because I actually don't have this in my research.
Gosh. See, I'm not as prepared as you.
I wasn't prepared on that aspect. But either way, Nelson Mandela was...
Uganda? Uganda could be right. If you
know, comment.
Right, yes,
let us know. Because that is one aspect of this that I did not research thoroughly. Okay, moving on. Nelson Mandela was put into prison, and it was widely believed that he died in prison in the 1980s. Like, there were like hundreds of people that were like, oh yeah, I saw his funeral on TV in the 1980s. Well, come to find out, the man is released in 1990 and then passed away in 2013. And people were like, what? He passed away in 2013. We remember seeing video clips of him, well, not of him dying, but of his funeral, right? And so...
As for me, I don't remember seeing any of these funerals.
No, I don't know. I mean, I knew who Nelson Mandela was, but I didn't know anything about that. I was born in 93, so that's kind of... I would have been too young to be interested in anything like that. But the point is, all of these masses of people were like totally convinced that this was like some government conspiracy going on and like something was up. Okay? And so this was the main thing that kind of got this phenomenon and kind of brought it to light. And suddenly all of these other things started sparking up around the world. And so people on the internet, people on TV, people, just communicating with each other over the world have compiled lists and lists of all of these things that we have seemed to misremember, that we thought was one way, but it actually turns out that it was never that way. And if you're anything like me, these will blow your mind.
And if you're anything like me, they won't.
That's not true, because in the past I have told him about the Mandela Effect. I gave him a couple examples, and one of them, he just looked absolutely shell-shocked. So, not 100%.
But after
sure.
I did my research...
Yeah, but at the time, you were like...
Yeah.
Okay, that's really weird.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, whenever somebody gives you some kind of information... Like, for instance, if I walked up to you and I said, did you know hippopotamus milk is pink? Would you believe that?
I think I did read that somewhere, but...
Right, but if you didn't read it somewhere, you'd be like, really? So
I would just be
throw
like,
you
oh,
off
cool.
Until you went...
I would believe you. Like, I'd be like, oh, cool. I'm not immediately distrusting, I don't think, of people.
See, I am
you
distrusting.
Are, yes, absolutely. Every time I tell him something, I could tell him that, like, milk is on sale at Walmart, and he'd look at me, like, with a raised eyebrow. Is milk on sale at Walmart? We'll see about that.
All right. Well, has anybody ever told you something and then you repeated it and people look at you like you're an idiot? And you're like, no, it's real, it's real. And then they show you, they do the research and they show you and they say,
he's terrified of that happening.
That's not real.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh,
I know. But
who knew?
I mean, just that's who you are. Own it. Own it.
Oh, I do. That's why I research everything now.
Okay. So let's get into some of these examples. I know that some of you probably listening to this might even be the first time you've heard of this.
Raise your hands if you had.
So I want to get into some of these examples, and, if you have heard of these, if you haven't, definitely comment and let us know. But I think you're going to be just as wigged out about this as I was when I initially found out about this, and even more when I researched this a little further.
Okay.
All right. So let's start with the first one I have here. People have collaborated on the internet about Oscar Mayer. You know what Oscar Mayer is, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Yes. Oscar Mayer Wiener.
Oscar Mayer Wiener. People remember it being spelled as Meyer, but in fact, it is spelled Mayer. Now, I'll kind of stop and talk about ones that I have an affiliation with. This is one I truly believed. When I read this one, I was like, what? I mean, I thoroughly believed. I remember seeing it in the grocery stores as Meyer. My mom always bought this growing up, and, like, I don't know. It wasn't like a shell shock moment for me, but I was like, I don't remember it being Mayer at all.
Well, all right. The way our brains work is we can create what's called false memories. And when you listen to the commercials or you hear somebody say it, how is it pronounced?
Meyer.
Meyer, exactly. So in your mind, you would spell it M-E-Y, or M-E-Y, what is it, A-R?
Well, phonetically, I would spell it M-Y-E-R.
Meyer. Right. But the closest thing would be M-E-Y-A-R. Is it A-R?
M-E-Y-E-R.
E-R.
Is
yes.
how I remember it being spelled.
So if somebody said, "Oh, I'm going to go buy some Oscar Mayer wieners," then maybe that would be a little bit more weird.
It just sounds wrong. I'm going to be at some Oscar Mayer wieners.
Exactly.
Oh, you're going to go see the mayor of our city?
Exactly. Point taken exactly. So whenever somebody says Meyer, they automatically think the spelling.
But here's my thing. I'm a visual person, and for me, it's not about auditory remembering. I physically or visually remember seeing it as M-E-Y-E-R. Like M-A-Y, that looks totally foreign to me. Like it doesn't make any sense to me as why anyone would spell it that way.
Right. But as I go back to your brain, okay, the way your memory works, it's not like photographic memory where you have these little places stored in like a computer. You are getting bits and pieces, and you can fill in those bits and pieces. And so whenever you hear something and then see something, your brain can automatically think, you know what, this is the way it was spelled then, even though you may not remember it that way.
We'll get into more of my rebuttal for that as we go on, but I've got a lot of examples I want to get to.
I'm looking forward to more.
Okay. So the next one I have here is Sex in the City. Now, this is another one kind of like Meyer where I was like, I did think I remembered it being the other way, but whatever. Maybe it wasn't. Sex and the City is the name of this TV show. But many remember it being called Sex in the City. And when I first saw this one, I was like, yeah, I did think it was Sex in the City. But, I mean, it wasn't one where I was like, oh my gosh, convinced of the Mandela Effect.
Okay, so I've heard women talk about this show, but whenever they talk about it really fast. So they're like, oh my gosh, I was watching Sex and the City. And they might have been saying Sex and the City to me, but to me it did sound like they were saying
have you been watching
Sex in the City.
He's like, I would know this. I have all the seasons.
All the episodes, every season.
Yeah. No, okay, but that is a good point. I mean, maybe that is true. Because I know that me, for example, I know when I'm saying the word and, it gets lost and it doesn't come out as and.
Sometimes especially when you're excited about it.
Let's me and you go get some Freddy's, which we are going to do soon since it just opened down the street.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Freddy's. Yum. Okay. Okay, so the next example I have here, and this was one that really freaked out my dad. My dad is a huge Queen fan, and of course, anytime I'm interested in something, I share it with everyone possible. So I happened to run this example by my dad, because I wanted to see if he remembered it being a certain way. We Are the Champions is a famous song by Queen.
I knew you were going to bring that one up.
Okay. And most people remember it to end. Well, you tell me. You remember it ending with,
we are the champions of the world.
Of the world. And then sick guitar solo at the end.
Yes.
Okay, well, now, anywhere you go onto YouTube, iTunes, whatever, it ends in, we are the champions. And that's it.
No sick guitar solo?
Well, there's some sick guitar solos, but there's no of the world. And, for me, that is one that genuinely freaks me out. Because my dad loves Queen. He's always listened to it. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that song. And I don't even particularly like it. Sorry, Queen fans. But I remember it ending that way. Because it was this big finish of the world. And it's not there anymore. Nowhere. Not even a trace. No one can find a copy of it saying that anywhere.
See, unprepared. don't know how to.
And it's okay. Listen, it's okay to be unprepared. I told you I was going to be throwing curveballs at you. But, you got me with the Oscar Mayer and the Sex and the City. So you're 2 for 1 right here. Okay?
All right.
2 for 3, I guess.
2 for 3.
All right. So I win this one.
Win
I got more, so buckle up.
All right.
All right. The Monopoly Man. Picture
Man.
the Monopoly Man. He's a cute little guy. He's got a top hat on. He's got his little suit on. And he's always had something on his face. What has he had on his face?
His eyeballs.
Well, besides that.
His nose.
You done?
Yeah.
A monocle. Okay, so a lot of people remember playing Monopoly. And I just remember this because I was like, oh, he's so cute. And I even asked my mom one time. I was like, Mom, what is that thing on his face? Because a monocle is very, outdated. Like, no one wears monocles anymore, right? It's like an older thing. Monopoly was developed earlier in our time period. So, a monocle was very unusual to see, like, in the 90s or 2000s. And so, I specifically remember asking my mom, what is that monocle, Mom? And she's like, it's a monocle.
My theory behind this...
But today, he has no monocle.
Right.
None.
He never did have a monocle.
Okay.
A lot of people misremember that as him having a monocle. And the way I've seen it is there are different movies and television shows that refer to people that are wearing monocles and a top hat and a suit as the Monopoly Man. And so what I'm thinking is that they see these movies such as I wish I could remember the movies that I was that I had
An older movie where monocles are featured.
Yes, they would have top hats and a suit. I think it was Ace Ventura.
Okay.
It was the Ace Ventura movie, and I think it was called The Wild. But he's at a party, and there's an older guy in there, and he's got a monocle on and a suit, and he says something to the fact that who invited the Monopoly Man. So
it's like crazy.
Right, but you could see it in both ways. You could see it as in, the Monopoly Man did have a monocle, or is it because they're referring to this guy as the Monopoly Man, and so you automatically, subconsciously think, there was a monocle on the Monopoly Man.
So what you're saying is Ace Ventura put it in our heads that he had a monocle.
Not just that, there were other movies in the past that referred to Monopoly Man
having a monocle.
Having a monocle. On. Yes, close enough. But yeah, so it could go both ways. You could be having a false memory and that filled in that space. Remember how I told you the brain is not like photography. It's not taking these pictures. So you're filling in these empty gaps. And to you, these could be those gaps that you filled in and you just automatically think, hey, you had a monocle.
I just think it's really strange, though, that it's like, that would be one thing. Like, if you're telling me, like, Natalie, this is happening in your head, like things being put in your head. But it's not just me. This is like masses. This is like tons of people. And personally, just so you know, I've never seen Ace Ventura. So that is not the case with me.
Well, there are a couple of studies, I'm trying to remember them right now, where there were 2 different ways to induce false memories into people.
Okay.
So that they think, this really happened. And what happened was Freudian psychologists, and one of them was having therapy sessions with them, and they used specific wording and made people think that something bad happened to them as a child when really nothing happened to them. Or you could have people remember certain words. Like, I want you to remember these 4 words: sleep, rest, nap, all these things. And then you bring up something to do with, I want you to remember what's in this room. And you're remembering all these things in this room, and even though you're standing in a bedroom, there may not be a bed in there, and whenever they pull you out, they're like, all right, name the things that were in there. And you're like, there was a lamp, there was a dresser, there was a
I think
bed.
you did this to me one time.
Yes.
You had me test this theory.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it
so
was interesting.
you can have false memories, and you can induce false memories in other people.
False memories is a thing. It's
Yes.
definitely a thing. I will give you that.
And there is mass false memories.
But that's what I'm saying. That's where it gets kind of tricky. Because
Right.
it's like,
That's why
yes,
I'm not
there's
gonna
false
say-
memories in individuals, but hundreds, thousands, sometimes even millions of people.
Oh.
It's weird. You will admit it's weird.
Oh, no, I will admit it is very weird.
Okay. So let's continue to the next example.
All right.
I'm not a Pokemon fan, okay? I'll tell you that outright. Are you?
I'm not a Pokemon. No.
Okay, so
People
we'll
out there
just
are probably
consider this
Pokemon
one to be
fans.
for the benefit of our listeners, since
Okay.
I
Sounds
have
great.
no opinion on this one. I'm just giving you the information. Pikachu, a popular character from Pokemon. Most people remember him at the end of his tail having a little black stripe or black mark or whatever. But apparently he doesn't have a black mark. But even I'm not a Pokemon fan, but obviously I know who Pikachu is. I see him everywhere. He's like the poster child for Pokemon.
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely.
so when I saw it, I was like, didn't he have a black mark? Maybe he didn't. I don't know. I don't watch the show. That was my 2 cents on that one.
For all I know, a bunch of fan artists could have drew it differently and
True.
didn't add the black mark
There are
onto
different animators that come in sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, listeners, that one's for you. Did
Yeah,
you
you can
remember
decide for
Pikachu's
yourself.
tail being black? Because I didn't, but we're not Pokemon fans. This was for your benefit. Added to this list. And it actually is a very
Isn't that
popular
sweet
one.
of her?
It's a very popular... Hey, I was into Pokemon Go back when it was popular.
Yeah, I was. I was afraid
guess I
of
could have paid attention
walking
then,
into
but-
traffic and dying.
Oh, man. Gotta catch them all.
Yeah, you gotta catch them all.
Gotta catch them
It's
all no
life
matter
or
where
death
they
here.
are.
This is life or death.
Life or death.
All right, what's our next one?
All right. This is the most famous example of the Mandela Effect, aside from Nelson Mandela himself. Are you ready for it?
I don't know. I gotta be prepared for this.
Okay. The Berenstain Bears. Okay.
The Berenstain
This is
Bears.
whenever you see a video about the Mandela Effect or an article, they've usually got the Berenstain Bears as their title page, because this is the one that really freaks people out. Most people remember the Berenstain Bears being spelled Berenstein, like Berenstein.
Yes.
Right. But apparently it was never spelled that way. According to research and according to the family, that, this is a show about the Berenstain Bears, but it was actually named after a real life family.
Yes.
The family's like, no, our last name has always been spelled Berenstein.
Yes.
And everyone's like, what? What is that?
Yes.
And that was one for me too, because I read their books, I watched their TV show. I was like,
yeah.
and even the way they pronounce it, when they do their theme song, they say, we're the Berenstain Bears. They don't say, we're the Berenstain Bears. That freaked me out. And obviously it freaked other people out too, because this is the most popular one. I even mentioned this one to my mom, of course, a lot of my family, and they were like, really?
I'm pretty sure this was the first one you brought up to me.
Oh yeah, it was the first one, because actually, it was my little sister. My little sister said, hey, how do you spell Berenstain Bears? And of course, I spelled it E-I-N. And she goes, nope, it's spelled S-T, like stain. And I said, what? You were kidding me. And that's kind of actually what probed my interest in the Mandela Effect. But she just saw one little thing on it.
Well, the research that I've done on this is that there are pictures that people have found
Of it saying E-I-N. There's
EIN
like a VHS.
and AIN. And I forgot his name, but there was an Australian that decided he was just going to do a bunch of research on him. And he found, what is it? TV guides. Yeah, the TV guides spelled it wrong. Newspaper articles spelled it wrong. People would have birthday parties and they would spell it wrong. So I did a little bit of more research and come to find out it's like the Oscar Mayer Wiener thing. People just didn't pronounce it right. It was more popular to have a last name with EIN than AIN. You could find hundreds of people's last names that end in that way, but there's very, very few people with last names that have AIN. And they even said that when they were younger, a lot of people mispronounced their names, always calling them Bernstein and Bernstein.
The families?
The families, yes. They actually mispronounced their names. And so that could have just went right into with the Bernstein.
So what you're saying is, since that's a more popular last name, a lot of people, including people who made their VHSs, made their books, made their what have you, just simply spelled it Berenstein.
Yeah, because you can see
kind of a big deal?
There's proof out there that you see VHS tapes where it has it spelled both ways, which means that even the companies made mistakes and put them on there.
Right, but I'm thinking, like, how could a company make that big of an error? Because, like, I think about other kids' TV shows, like Dora the Explorer. Like, what if they were, like, Doris the Explorer on one of the videos, and people were like, Doris? I mean,
I guess
I understand that Berenstein and Berenstain, they're kind of close. Like, I get that. But I just think it's very hard to believe that a company would make that mistake not only once, but make it repetitively.
People out there, if you have ever heard of a company making mistakes,
but repetitively, again and again and again.
Well, it's not repetitive.
Because I've seen so many things on the internet. Berenstain. And then if you look nowadays, it's Berenstain. But, like, people have, like, old VHSs of Berenstain, old books. I think I even in my classroom have a Berenstain Bear book, and I think it is spelled AIN, but
I think I have a few books still at my mother's house, and it was AIN. I double-checked them. But, I mean, this is just mine. You can believe however you want to.
It's a good rebuttal, but it's just not enough to convince me, because I can understand company make a mistake if they did it like one time. If there was only one VHS that had it spelled that way, understandable. But this is multiple things. And not only that, it's like everyone, like, this is the most popular example, and everyone's like, no, it was EIN. There's no way it was Stain. It just looks weird. Yeah.
It looks weird because people aren't used to having a last name with AIN. Like I said, there were hundreds of people with last names of STEIN, while there was only very few. I mean, like less than 20 people with the last names STAIN. From all the research that I've looked up about it. But we can just leave it up to the audience.
We'll leave it up to you guys on that one. I'm not convinced. I mean, he's had me on some other ones, but that one, I'm sorry. It's just too, the evidence is too compelling. That's a little too weird.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. Okay, next one. Another one I'm not really familiar with, but it was very popular on the resources where I was looking, so I am going to include it in this. Curious George, were you a Curious George fan?
I think I own one book at the house.
Yeah. Well, apparently, a lot of people remember Curious George. He's a monkey, right? Monkeys have what on their bottom?
The yellow raincoat.
Sure. Monkeys have what on their bottom?
A bright orangeness. No, they have tails.
They have tails, right, of course. Yeah. Curious George apparently never had a tail. Although many people remember him having one. I can't speak on that one again, because to me, they show like two images, like which one looks right to you, and I'm like, both. I
have to go back to the misremembering again. Automatically, when you see a monkey, just like you asked me, you said, what do monkeys have on their bottom?
Right.
And I automatically would think a tail. But the creators of Curious George did not add a tail, and we automatically, it's just like if I were to draw a circle and not finish it all the way, your brain automatically adds that hidden, it finishes it for it.
Right.
For you. So that's the way I look at that one.
I don't know. I don't really have an opinion. I'm not a Curious George fan. Sorry, Curious George fans.
But like I said, I would love to hear comments of what people think.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Help me out with this one, people. Okay, this one, though, I have 3 asterisks beside it, because this is one there is no way you're going to tell me is false. Okay? And that is Chick-fil-A. Now, I don't know where you guys are listening from, but Chick-fil-A is the bomb around these parts.
Oh my gosh, it's more than you know.
It's more than you know. It's like always packed out. And the reason I say that is because it's been a part of my life. Like, I've lived in South Carolina my whole life, and it's been a big part of my culture for a long time. Okay? So, the issue with this one is that many people remember Chick-fil-A being spelled as a funky way. Some people will say it was either spelled C-H-I-C or C-H-I-K and then F-I-L-A. But apparently, it is spelled like chick. C-H-I-C-K, like a little chick.
A little bird, yeah.
And then dash F-I-L-A.
So that's the correct spelling now.
That is the correct spelling now. But many people remember it being spelled weird. Okay? Because I guess I assume the whole idea behind Chick-fil-A is like, the cows are promoting Chick-fil-A to get them to eat more chicken so they don't eat more beef.
Right.
So I always felt like that was part of the little promo for it, that, they can't spell chicken right,
Yeah.
But I remember in school, like, specifically, like, it's like a flashbulb memory in my mind. I'm in 2nd grade, okay? I'm writing a paper, and I don't know, I'm talking about, like, what we did on a certain day on a weekend for class. And I'm talking about how we go to Chick-fil-A. And I'm stumped at the word, because I'm like, I can't remember how to spell it. It's spelled a weird way. And so I always had trouble spelling it. And so I would always either spell it S-H-I-C or S-H-I-K. And I actually found that paper where I wrote it, and I ended up spelling it S-H-I-C-F-I-L-A.
Question. Did the teacher correct it, or did they even care?
No, this was like, it wasn't like a graded assignment.
They didn't
give feedback.
They didn't care.
But no, and I specifically remember, had it been spelled this way, I knew how to spell chick, like C-H-I-C-K, and I had such trouble remembering how to spell Chick-fil-A that I'm thinking, if I knew how to spell chick, why could I not have just told myself, it's just chick dash F-I-L dash A, easy. But I specifically remember, I can never remember how to spell Chick-fil-A. It was like a constant, like, this is like a very personal one for me, because I always remember it being very weird to spell. So, like, this is one I'm 100% convinced. Well, see,
I am not a big Chick-fil-A fan.
You're missing
Don't get me
out.
wrong, I love their waffle fries. Awesome. And we're not promoting them anyway. But the way I see it is that if I saw C-H-I-C filet, then I would think chic. Chic filet. That's how I would pronounce it if I was driving by. Because that's how chic is spelled. So that was I'm not big on this. I don't really know much about this, but if I was a company and I was spelling it, I don't know if I would spell it C-H-I-C with a dash, because...
But the whole idea is, like, the cows are, like, you always see them, like, spelling it weird ways, or spelling things weird ways, because they're cows and they don't know how to read and write.
Yeah, but I would figure they would, spell it C-H-I-K,
but other people have also said, no, it's not C-H-I-C, it's C-H-I-K. The point is, it was not spelled C-H-I-C-K, like chick. Otherwise, it would be easy to remember to spell.
And it's just being misremembered.
Could be, but I'm going to tell you right now, it was not. I'm just saying, like, this is...
You're going to hear me laugh a lot on this podcast.
Is like,
she told me not to laugh too much, but I
this
cannot
is
help
totally one that, like, I'm just... Along with Berenstain Bears, probably even more than that. No one's going to tell me it was not spelled that way. Like, this is like childhood flashback memories for me.
I don't even know what to say.
Well, then we'll just move on. How about that? I win this one.
Let's just move on.
All right. Here's another one. I'm probably going to get a little flack for this, but I've never seen Star Wars the whole way through.
For shame.
Yeah. I've watched a little bit of it, enough to get the premise, but unfortunately I fell asleep during it. But I do know this famous line, and I'm sure everyone else, maybe even those who haven't watched anything about Star Wars, know that this is a line that is from Star Wars. And if you would assist me, what is that line?
Well,
hold on, just give me the line. What's the line?
The line is, Luke, It's not, the real line is not Luke, I am your father.
Well, it's not, but I want you to say the one that we all remember it as. Luke.
Luke, I am your father.
Exactly.
Luke, I am your father.
Thank you for the effect. Yes, that's what I wanted. No, but it's actually, he never said that. Darth Vader never said that. The actual line is, no, I am your father.
Yes.
Right. So we've got tons and tons of people who were like, what the heck? It was Luke, I am your father. It's been quoted in numerous movies after this. Like, what is going on? No, okay. I am your father?
This is like the chicken or the egg thing. Did we remember Luke, I am your father because of the movie? Or did people add it into movies and TV shows and now we think that the original movie said, Luke, I am your father? Or is it because they just added it to the television shows to make it more dramatic? Luke. What's more dramatic? Luke, I am your father. Or, no, I am your father.
But you know, I watched a video with James Earl Ray, the man who
James Earl Jones,
who voiced Darth Vader. And they asked him about this. And you can look this up. This is totally legit. They asked him, can you give us the line? Like, can you give us your famous line? And he said, Luke, I am your father. He said it. And I'm sorry, if the man who played Darth Vader and had to learn these lines is saying it this way, and granted, maybe he's just being influenced by the rest of the pop culture, but he has no reason to not remember this infamous line. That was compelling to me. Like, I don't really hold a candle for this one, but that was pretty compelling when I watched that.
Yeah, that was tough.
He looked at me and he's like, yeah, he doesn't know what to say, but he'll have a response, I'm sure. But in the meantime,
if I was prepared, like right now, I've got my phone out and I'm trying to Google things as fast as I can to rebuttal these.
It's fine. And we'll just let me win on this one.
All right, we'll just let you win.
Let's move on. Sing this with me. It's a beautiful day in
the neighborhood.
A wonderful day in the neighborhood. And we all know that is from
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. So we just sang it both the way we remember this. And this is a show that I actually did watch when I was younger. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood is the way the song we remember it going. But it's actually incorrect. Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood theme goes, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. It sounds very small. It sounds like a very, like, small, like, I don't know, language error to make. But this, it just sounds weird. It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. It sounds like it's almost, like, not keeping up with the beat, right? Like, rhythmically, it doesn't make sense.
Syllable-wise?
Yeah, like, rhythmically, like, with this song, it's like, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, or, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It just flows better with the, right?
Give me a second, I'm getting to it. I see, this is so hard. Hold on, here we go.
Yeah, this is weird.
I hope it starts out with
any day now, Rogers. No, the train has to come by, remember that?
Alright, so we'll fast forward it.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you?
Okay, with this one,
so creepy.
Creepy. I think since watching it as a child, it was just easier for children to say, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. To me. I mean, if that's the way the song went and I was being grammatically or wanted just to sing it correctly, then yes. But there are lots of songs that I don't sing correctly.
Well, you don't know the words to a lot of songs. I'm just saying.
Thanks.
I, for one, I listen to lyrics, my favorite part of all songs. And so, like, I'm not saying I was crazy obsessed with this song, but I remembered it as being the. Like, someone even asked me, like, when they were talking to me about this, they were like, sing the Rogers Neighborhood theme song for me. And I sang it with a V. And they were like, nope, it's this. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, it doesn't even sound right. Like, we just heard that recording, and it did not sound right.
I don't know.
I love that response. I don't know. See, it makes it fair. You've got all your psychological reasons, and sometimes it's okay to just say, I don't know.
Yeah. Because it's just much easier to, when for somebody does research on something and then just throw something back at you, and then you cannot reply because you're not prepared for it.
I understand, but
if you would have gave me the topics you were going to use, then
I feel like I have the burden of truth here, though. The burden of proof.
I feel like this is your episode, and that you just want to give me some things and see if you could stump me.
Well,
and I'm trying my best.
You're such a skeptic.
Yes.
And so it's like, it's not that I'm trying to stump you. I'm just saying these things are weird, and what is your opinion on this?
I think that they
just
were
as a person.
Yeah, it's just false memories that she was a kid. I mean, how old were you when you first started listening to Mr. Rogers?
Oh, 5.
So 5 years old. What 5-year-old says pronounces every single word to a...
I mean, none of them do, but...
And you end up getting in the habit of singing that way, so it sticks in your head because you're singing it over and over again, and it's repetition. And so it's ingrained in your brain.
Stalemate. I don't know.
All right, agree to disagree.
Agree, disagree. Only because this one has to do with kids. And, like, the fact where you brought up kids can't pronounce, that is true. So, I mean, that is possible. Kids will be the ones singing this the most. And when we're kids, we don't remember things exactly the way. But I think the most compelling examples of these are the ones where it's like, as an adult.
I was going to say, if the adult is watching it with the kid, then, you have your thing right there where the adult's not remembering it right.
Right. Okay, next one. This is one that's just recently come to light, and it's about the Mona Lisa. She's most famous for having... Yeah, there's even a movie called Mona Lisa's Smile.
Yeah.
But in fact, the whole point of that movie is that Mona Lisa didn't smile in her portrait. She was like... You never could tell like what she was thinking because she just had this... expressionless look on her face. Well, now, in any portrait you see of the Mona Lisa, she's kind of has this smirk on her face. Like, she's totally smiling.
See, now I'm Googling.
He's got to know. Like, he had this spark in his eye that was like, what? But no, yeah, I mean, I saw that and I was like, wow. It's like a corner of her mouth is kind of pulling up and like kind of a smirk. Okay, it's kind of like I know something you don't kind of
This is the picture I've always known. She always had a little bit of an upward slant to her left, our right when viewing.
See, and again, it's not like I looked at this every day, but I just remember her being like blank, expressionless.
As someone who loved art growing up and was, just completely engulfed in art, my father got me into it. And Mona Lisa was one of the paintings that, you automatically learned in art classes. And I took quite a few art classes. And so I do remember that it's not really a smirk. It's just an upward, part of her lip. But I've always noticed that.
Okay.
Maybe other people just misremembered, or maybe that's what they thought.
I don't have a lot of background on that. Maybe as someone who's an art enthusiast like you would probably take it as something like that, as one of the most famous paintings.
Yeah. Okay. And if somebody out there remembers it different, please comment, because one way or the other, let us know how you saw it or how you remembered it.
Sure. Okay, next, Kit Kat.
Kit Kat,
the label. I know you remember this one. So, a lot of people remember Kit Kat as having a Kit-Kat. Like, not one word, Kit Kat. Like, it was Kit-Kat. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently Kit Kat does not have a dash. No dash for Kit Kat.
No.
And, like, this isn't one where I was like, that's wild or anything, but I did remember it having a dash. Because to me, it made sense that it was like Kit Kat, not like Kit Kat. You know what I mean?
Kit
Like,
Kat.
Kit Kat. I don't know. That one was weird. Okay, this one I just researched last week when I was doing this. I hadn't heard about, this is one I hadn't heard about, and I was like, that's weird.
All right, I'm looking forward to this one.
Okay, so do you know who Sinbad is?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know who he was, so I kind of had to look him up. Tell our listeners.
Sinbad was a character on a few television shows. He always wore like outrageous outfits, very colorful. If anybody's seen In Living Color, believe me, you would know who Sinbad was. He was a comedian.
So a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. All right, so getting into that, people remember Sinbad being in some random genie movie in the 90s, like where it was like a couple kids and he was the genie. Mm-hmm. And like, I guess when I was looking at this, they had a cover of Sinbad like in a genie outfit, and he like had his arms crossed or whatever. And I was like, wow, that does look familiar. And so I kind of did more research into that particular example of itself, and someone had this grainy footage of like an old VHS tape of Sinbad as a genie appearing out of this this box or something, and these kids freaking out. And he was talking. He was in a genie uniform, genie outfit. And yeah, it was him. It was him. It was a movie, and it was a very grainy, like kind of creepy looking video. And it was like someone's evidence for proving that there was a movie about this.
I would love to see that, because straight to my mind, I automatically think that this was some kind of edited photo, because there was a movie that came out about a genie.
It was Shaq.
It was Shaquille, yes.
But
and the name of it was what?
Shazam or something?
Nope.
Okay.
That was the name of the movie that everybody that believes that Sinbad was in was the name of Shazam. But his movie was called Kazam.
But I remember people saying, like, hearing that Shaq was going to be doing a genie movie, and then thinking it was going to be a ripoff of this movie with Sinbad.
What I've read online is that if you look at the VHS cover for the Shaquille O'Neal Kazam movie, they actually promote a Sinbad movie that was coming out around the same time. And if you look on the Sinbad case, it shows a promotion for Shaquille O'Neal's Kazam movie. So people could have looked at those, got them mixed up, and automatically put Sinbad in Shaquille O'Neal's place, and then just altered the name of it. Instead of being Kazam, they said Shazam. See how close it sounds?
Possibly. But I'm going to play this clip for you guys right now. The two little voices you'll hear are the kids, and then obviously you'll hear Sinbad. Okay. He's coming out of his lamp.
Man, it feels good to get out that thing.
That's him.
Kind of cramped up in there. Should have took you long enough, Tina. Wait, y'all are not Tina.
Kidnapper!
Wait. Where you going? I just got here. What happened to saying hello? I believe we got off on the wrong foot.
Don't come any closer.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start all over, right? I'm going to introduce myself. I am Shazam! I'm the genie of the lamp. And?
So, you get the idea. I mean, it's these kids. He's running around with these kids. He's popping up everywhere. His name is Shazam the genie. And it is Sinbad in his genie garb freaking these kids out.
Okay. I'm looking online, and it says, according to a story shared widely online since a few years, the well-known comedian Sinbad played the role of genie in 1990's popular children's movie called Shazam. Although there are some pictures and even videos allegedly showing same as detailed below, which they're showing a picture of Sinbad. The claims are not facts. The origin of the story, the claim in question seems to have originated back in 2009 from an anonymous question posted on Yahoo Answers. So, I mean, I would have to rewatch Kazam again to see if maybe they edited it and add, because he did play a genie in some kind of television show.
Sinbad?
Yes, Sinbad did, but I can't remember which one it is. I'll have to go back and research it. Like all my research is just like jumbled up in my head. It's not like I have all these like papers in front of me to refer me to it.
It's just strange. I mean, that video itself was pretty compelling, so I don't know. Maybe we'll come back with that one, or you'll have more of a rebuttal for that one.
On the 1st of April in 2017, College Humor actually posted a video prank saying they found Sinbad's Shazam Genie movie. And so I want to go and see
if that's the same one.
See if it is, yeah.
But I did see something funny on here, just as a side note. It's like a quote from Sinbad, and he says, "I'm going to make a genie movie in 2018.
Called Shazam. He should.
But the thing is, if this is going with the Mandela Effect, he, of course, would be saying, no, I didn't make a movie. He would be in line with that. So, I mean, that's not disproving anything. All right, moving on. The next one is one that, again, I am very familiar with and think this one's absolutely crazy. In Silence of the Lambs, we have Hannibal Lecter, who has a very famous line that he says to the young woman, the girl Jodie Foster's playing. Her name is Clarice. And so when she walks in to visit him for the first time, he says, in your creepiest voice,
"Hello, Clarice."
He says, "Hello, Clarice." That's right. And just like some other ones, there's been numerous movies to kind of mock this and like mimic it and whatever. But that's actually not the line. He never said hello, Clarice. In fact, when she came in, the only thing he said was, "Good morning."
Good morning.
That's
yes.
it. That's all he said.
Yes. And
he never said hello, Clarice at any other point in the movie. Never.
My mother owns this movie, and I've watched it not hundreds of times, but quite a few times, at least 30 times. And I know it does say hello, Clarice, but because I hear all these movies and TV shows that say hello, Clarice, it's automatically instilled in my brain that I want to say hello, Clarice. Because what sounds more cool, saying hello, Clarice, or hello?
But I'm just wondering where that would get from, because good morning and hello, Clarice sound nothing alike.
You're just adding a name to it. Good morning, and hello, Clarice.
I'm sorry. I'm about to play the clip for you. Our listeners can hear how weird this sounds. Okay. Hold on.
My name is Clarice Starling. May I speak with you?
You're one of Jack Crawford's, aren't you?
Wait, I think I went too far. Sorry. Okay. This is even called the Hello, Clarice scene.
Hello, Clarice.
Dr. Lecter, my name is
What?
Starling.
See, look at that.
Oh,
I
wait.
think that there are different parts of the movie
Hold
where
on.
he greets her, because she sees him a couple of times in the movie. So what I'm thinking is that he does say it at least once, but she meets him in the morning and it says, "Good morning, Clarice," and at one point he does say, "Hello, Clarice."
Okay, that's wild.
Yes.
Because that's been a very popular one.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, people just...
But here's one
That's
where
probably why
it
there's
says
over
Mandela
500.
Effect, proof, evidence, hello, Clarice.
Yeah.
I don't know. Guys, look that up, because of course, I remember it being hello, Clarice. There was evidence of it right there, but other people swear it's good morning.
Well,
where's the...
I'm thinking he
we're
greets
missing
her.
a disconnect here somewhere. So, you guys, look this up, because
I'm thinking he meets her at different times, because there are multiple movies. There's Hannibal, there's Red Dragon, And I'm not sure which ones, I haven't seen them in a while, but I'm not sure which ones have Clarice in them. But,
Or maybe that video was proof of the Mandela Effect.
maybe parallel universes collided
We're getting into the
twice.
theories. Don't you worry. We're in the examples still. Okay.
All right. How many more examples do we have? 'Cause we
I'll
don't
try
wanna
to.
run too
Yeah, we
long.
don't want to run too long. I want to pick some of the ones that I thought were pretty significant.
What about Jif? Or
Jif
Jiffy?
peanut butter?
Jiffy.
Yeah, that's a short one. I remember it being Jiffy peanut butter. My mom, I asked her about this one though. She was like, "No, it was never Jiffy. It was always Jif." So that's one.
My theory on that is that Skippy was out and Jif was out, and so people automatically started saying Jiffy because of Skippy. That's just my thoughts.
Okay, here's a weird one. A lot of people distinctly remember seeing a formal portrait of King Henry VIII
Turkey in his
eating a
hand.
turkey leg. Right, absolutely. So it was a famous portrait, but the only issue is that it doesn't exist.
Yeah. No.
It
he's
doesn't
holding
exist.
a-
There is no such portrait of King eating a turkey leg.
I forgot what
So
he's holding. He's holding some kind of leather.
no, I looked at this portrait. He's not holding anything. He's just standing there.
All right. Now.
Okay. There have been
King-
portrayals of King Henry VIII eating bird legs vigorously in films and cartoons. So one possibility is that people are taking their memories of these instances and associating them with a portrait from that time period.
Yes.
Alternatively, those films and cartoons could just be based off the fact that some mysterious portrait, that same mysterious portrait that definitely exists in some other reality.
See,
Okay, so he does have his knife, but he is just standing
he has
there.
a knife, but he also has some kind of pouch or scroll.
But you have to
or
understand
something in
that
his
is
hand.
very small, and everyone remembers the turkey leg being like
Being
right
a
by his
large,
mouth,
yes,
and
yes,
very
a
large, right?
turkey leg, yes.
And all these cartoons, and I can think of some just in my head right now where like a cartoon character's getting their portrait made, and they're like, "Oh wait, take this," and they give him
Yeah.
the turkey leg. Like,
Yeah.
where did they get that from?
But that's what I'm saying. That's what probably creates false memories about the original painting, is that you see these cartoons and...
But where did they get that from?
Maybe there were...
I don't know of another portrait where there's
stories of
someone eating a
how
turkey
he was
leg.
gluttonous and he liked to eat a lot and his favorite food was turkey legs, and so they thought, hey, let's add this in there for comedic,
Perhaps. All right, next to last one, because I have to add this one here for my mom, because this one freaked out my mom. Like, I just saw, like, life leave her eyes when I told her this. And it's because she's such a clean freak. So it's Febreze.
Oh,
you know, the little
Febreze,
Febreze spray
yes.
that makes your house smell nice. All right, so Febreze. Many people remember Febreze being spelled F-E and then, like, breeze. B-R-E-E-Z-E.
yeah.
Right? It's actually not spelled that way. Supposedly, it's spelled Febreze. So not spelled correctly at all. It's just spelled Febreze. Okay? And so my mom told me that, and she, like, because she has lived off that stuff. Not that, like, her house smells or anything, but, like, she uses it on everything. Okay? And so, obviously, she's bought this product several times in her lifetime. And she's like, no, it's always been spelled like breeze, like breeze, like a wind breeze. And so she was like, that's the one that got her. She's on the Mandela train, just so you know.
All right. I did the research on Febreze just to find out where it came from. And it originally started as a cleaning product, but they couldn't sell it to anybody. They could not get anybody to buy this to clean their house with it. So they hired somebody to bring them in to figure out a way to sell it to people, because they were selling it door to door. And come to find out that if they talked people into spraying it after cleaning, it's an after cleaning spray. So that way it makes your house smell nice. Right. So they would go to people's house and say, oh, do you own dogs or do you own cats? Or, it just... their houses had a certain smell to them, and what they would do is they would clean up their house and then they would spray the Febreze around, and that is what brought them into loving Febreze, and that's how it became popular. So possibility could be is that they did change the name and took away all the old Febreze and had to change it so people wouldn't associate it with the old one. Possibility. I haven't seen any pictures.
Right. I just don't get, like, to me, it's so much of a selling point because, like, if I see Febreze spelled with just one E, I'm like, I'm immediately teacher in my head, grammatical error. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And same thing with Chick-fil-A, but that was like their gimmick, you know, with the cows. But Febreze, like, it just looks better with two E's, and
that could be the reason why you think of it as that's how it should be spelled.
Maybe I want to grammatically correct it. Yes, except for the fact that no. It was
it's just like if you see
out.
your and it doesn't have an apostrophe re, like earlier today you saw that and you were like, oh, there's a mistake. You automatically want to fix it. Your brain fixes it.
But my mom, however, is not like that. And I guarantee there's people out there who are not grammar Nazis like me. And so I'm thinking we all just happen to remember it
not
100%
all.
Being this way. All of us that believe
all.
this.
Yeah, everybody that believes
and
it.
even you, I think I even told you this one earlier.
Yeah, when you showed it to me, but I told you afterwards that it's because it looks right. Not because I remember reading it. Like, I don't look at things and be like, oh,
I'm just looking at it right now and I'm like, Febreze. That's what it looks like to me. I'm like, who wants to spray their house with Febreze?
I like me some Febreze right now, so I can spray it around my house.
It just doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
Let's at least do.
I've got so many, but last one.
2.
All right. Let me do this one, and then we can bring it this one. All right. So this is the really creepy one. JFK assassination.
Okay.
All right. So kind of 2-for-1 conspiracy here, but not about his shooting. It's about the people in the car. All right. So tell me about the people. Tell me about the people that most of us know were in the car. JFK.
Right. Obviously, there was the driver. There was the
Governor
obviously
Colony.
JFK and his wife were in the back seat, but in the middle seat,
Governor Colony.
Yes, that's who was in the middle seat.
I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, he was in the middle seat
his wife.
It was a 3-seater car.
Sure, and his wife. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's who we all remember: the driver, the governor, his wife, JFK, and Jackie.
Yes.
Well, apparently that's incorrect. There was actually a 6th person in the car, and he was in the passenger seat next to the driver. And I didn't look up who this man was at all. Most people, like, in captions of the photos that I see, just call him Anonymous Man. And you would think with how big of a thing this was, they would want to know exactly who was in that car, who got hurt. And if that's the case, he was in line with getting shot. Like, Governor Colony got shot. What about that man? Did he get hurt? Like, why did we not hear about this if this is true?
Obviously, he didn't get hurt.
I have never heard of more than 5 people being in that car. Tell me I'm wrong.
I don't remember him because, to me, that
was huge.
My eyes are focused on Kennedy. Kennedy and his wife were the only 2. The other ones just kind of phased out as I'm watching these
I guess
videos.
so, but, like, think about how big of a thing it's been, like, afterward, where people are, like, scrutinizing every little thing about it. And there's been nothing about this Joker.
I'm holding back from going into, like, the Kennedy assassination. We're going to save this for another
podcast.
Yeah, we're going to save it for another podcast. But, like I said, remember the video I showed you? You figured it out, but some people didn't. It's called the Gorilla Effect.
Yeah.
And just look it up online on YouTube and follow the directions.
It's called the Gorilla Effect?
I think it's called the Gorilla Effect. Or
search
the
Gorilla Effect. It'll probably
Gorilla Experiment or something like that. Your eyes are focused on certain things. And yes, I guess if you watch something over and over again,
you're
going to
scrutinizing it.
Yeah,
like,
you're scrutinizing it.
I had a government econ teacher in high school who was, like, crazy obsessed with JFK. And we actually spent, like, 2 weeks. I'm not sure this was even in the curriculum, but we spent, like, 2 weeks talking about JFK. And just every little detail. I don't remember a single thing being said about this guy. We talked about the driver. We talked about the governor.
He's unimportant.
We didn't really talk about the governor's wife, granted, but everybody else we talked a lot about. Like, everyone will know who the driver was, who were these people in the car, were they in this plot to have Kennedy assassin, that kind of thing. And did not hear one word about this guy. But if any picture you look on the internet, he is there. He's there. He's in, like, a dark suit.
I do not doubt that he was there.
Who is he?
But to me, he's unimportant.
Listeners, look him up. who is this guy? This was like a last minute thing I added in here. I didn't have time to look him up.
Yeah. Anybody out there,
but the fact that he's even there,
historians, you would know.
He's even there. Who is this guy? Why have I not heard of him?
Part of
I know
CIA
a lot about the
or something
JFK
like that.
assassination, and when I read this, I was like, "Hold the phone. We're about to something's about to blast off at me because."
All right.
I'm just saying.
Right.
Oh, do you want to talk about Wizard of Oz?
Yes. No, not the Wizard of Oz. It was the if you watch the Disney's Snow White.
Oh gosh, yeah, that one.
What does it say? What does she say?
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
That's not what she said.
And it's apparently not what she said.
She says, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?"
Which sounds ridiculous.
Right. And the reason is, and this is part of the Mandela Effect, if you look it up, people think that this is part of it.
It's a popular one, yeah.
And the reason is because the original books and almost all cartoons and movies that have come out after the book all say, "Mirror, mirror on the wall." Disney is the only one that changed it to Magic Mirror.
I don't know.
Debunked.
Right. No, like as a kid, like Beauty and the Beast was my favorite, so I could, if there was a Mandela Effect about that, it would be hook, line, sinker. I would be on it. But Snow White, I didn't really care that much about, but I do remember it being Mirror, mirror. And as a credit to your side of it, I remember in Shrek, Lord Farquaad, he had that mirror, and he was about to try to like look into it, and was kind of, and instead of mirror, mirror, I do remember him saying magic mirror, and then the gingerbread man goes, "Don't tell him anything."
Don't tell me.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I don't know.
No,
That's
my
a tricky
favorite
one.
character,
One
Gingerbread Man.
I'm just gonna say this because this guy right here is obsessed with the Wizard of Oz, and
Yes, love it.
when I told him this, and we looked back and saw videos, he was like, absolutely not. But apparently, when the trio was going through the woods, the Scarecrow has a gun.
Yes.
What?
The Scarecrow, she showed it to me. It was in the video.
I told him, and he said, no, he doesn't. You're probably just seeing something wrong. I showed him the video. The Scarecrow has a gun. Look it up. When I think they're like approaching the witch's castle or something. Yeah.
Yes.
And
there was actually supposed to be a whole other scene. The reason he has the net is there's some kind of bugs that were supposed to attack them that was in the book, but they cut it out. That's why they had all the weapons. They had the bug spray and the net.
But I'm sorry.
And the gun.
If he has a gun,
It's not.
why
gonna
is he
do
not
any-
shooting the witch dead?
Right.
Why are they having to go through all these extremities to get rid of the witch when the Scarecrow has a gun?
Okay, so since you
Why does he have a gun?
since you showed me that he had a gun, I had to research, find out what was going on. Yes, obsessed. So what I found out is that this one person decided, let's see how many people notice the gun. So they showed the video to, I can't remember how many people, and they asked them to look. It was just that section where they're walking through the woods and they're all carrying.
Now, what was
the
it?
different
Was
things.
this back in the day when they made it, or was this after the fact? These people are investigating the Mandela
recently.
Effect.
This is recently.
Got it.
This is recently. And so everybody is watching this movie, and the lady's telling them, look for things out of the ordinary. And so they're watching these movies, and they're trying to pick out these things, and nobody picked out that there was a gun. Nobody. And so I'm just thinking that you just don't notice it. It's just not something that you notice. I mean, now after the fact, I'm like, oh my gosh, if he has a gun, why doesn't he shoot the witch? But they actually, like, find people who have watched The Wizard of Oz before and let them watch it. Let them just watch that scene and say, did you see anything out of the ordinary? And if they say, I don't know, and they name something, and they don't name the gun, then say, did you see a gun? And they'll probably be like, no, I didn't see a gun. And then you'll show them, and they'll see the gun.
That's possible. But my dad, I can tell you, like, I don't know how many times you've watched this, but...
Every year since I was...
I know, but he's older than you, and he's watched it, like, I can't tell you how many times. And when I told him this, like, he was a shade shy of having tears in his eyes for not knowing this detail. Like, I'm serious. He was like,
That's a true
"What?
lover of the film.
What gun? He wouldn't have had a gun." I'm like, "Yeah, he did." And I showed him. He was like, and he told me straight to my face, "That's not real. That's not real. It's not a real clip."
Oh, well, I believe him. It's not a real gun. You know, it's just props. and
No,
stuff.
like, that's not a real
I know
clip.
what you meant.
So, yeah, any film of the movie you look up to, it's like that. All right. I think we've covered a lot of examples, but y'all, that's not even skimming the surface. There are hundreds of these examples, okay? But I kind of want to take a few minutes and get into some of the theories behind this. Because a lot of people are like, okay, we all agree this is happening. Why is this happening? So I'm going to kind of share with our listeners and with you some of the theories as to why people think this is happening.
Okay.
All right. So the first one is the most popular, and it's about parallel universes and the fact that the reason this is happening is because parallel universes are colliding. Okay? So this theory says that these differences are arising from movement between parallel realities, or the multiverse. This is based on a theory that within each universe, alternative versions of events and objects exists. And this has actually been backed up by a recent study. And any of you who keep up with like science articles or Psychology Today, I mean, I looked on multiple sources to find this. And this has been a study by British astronomers that focuses on what's known as today as the cold spot. Did you hear about that at all?
No.
Okay. So the cold spot is an especially cold area of space that has been observed in the microwave background radiation coming from the early universe 13 billion years ago. So usually temperatures of the radiation vary throughout the universe, but this particular area of coolness is much larger than others. It's about 0.00015 degrees Celsius colder than its surroundings. So that's kind of unusual, but there's very little chance that this cold spot came about by chance, and so it's likely to be the result of something very strange happening, the researchers said. This means we can entirely rule out that the spot is caused by an unlikely fluctuation explained by the standard model, says an astronomer named Tim Shanks. And he also goes on to say, but if that isn't the answer, then there are more exotic explanations. And he's not the only one. Stephen Hawking, who unfortunately recently passed away, was, before he died, working on a paper. And the title of this paper was called A Smooth Exit from Internal Inflation. And its latest revisions were actually made about 10 days before he passed away. And in this paper, he actually talked about the possibilities of parallel universes, and that this cold spot was probably the most up-to-date example we have of the possibility of parallel universes. He said it's not scientifically possible for this spot in space to be this cold and not mean something peculiar is going on. And of course, I'm not going to try to embarrass myself and go into all his scientific terms that I barely understood. But that's basically what he's saying, is that this cold spot could be indicative that parallel universes could possibly be a thing. And how this relates to the Mandela Effect is that if parallel universes are a possibility, then we could be colliding. And maybe there's been small changes made in these different universes that are colliding, and we're seeing it one way because that's the way it is in another reality, another universe.
My only issue with that is that if we are colliding and we're taking or mixing and matching different parallel universes, then why would we remember the first one? Like, is this collision happening? Like, we remember this, and then a collision happens, and now it's changed, and we're remembering the old universe?
I think it's saying that, like, it's like we have this universe that we know, but there's been a small change somewhere in the past that has occurred, and then an alternate reality has taken forth to another dimension.
So
in
if
space.
somebody time traveled and...
Well, no, that's a different theory.
Oh,
But
that's a whole different
that's a
theory,
totally
yeah.
different theory.
Okay.
But no, they're saying like there's all these parallel universes that are very, very similar, but have small differences. So there's a universe out there where Mona Lisa is expressionless. There's a parallel universe out there where
she's cheesing.
Where she's cheesing, man. No, where Curious George has a tail. Right? So it's these small differences, and they're saying, like, we're getting glimpses of those other universes. That's where the collision is happening, and we're like, wasn't it a different way before? And we're, like, taking in the Curious George of that alternate universe. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
So, I mean, that in itself is kind of a stretch, but I think where this theory has some merit is that Stephen Hawking, obviously, arguably the smartest person who's ever been alive, save for maybe Einstein.
But like all scientists, everybody makes mistakes, and
Sure.
everybody has theories. And
But I don't know about you,
grow
but
off
I
of
would
those
definitely
theories.
trust someone like Hawking over
Me.
average Joe Schmo. Well, that too. No, I just think that gives it a little more credibility. But the fact that Hawking has this theory and that astronomers are all saying this is really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I mean, of course, he also talks about black holes being a thing in space, about
Well, I mean,
portals to alternate realities or time travel.
You know me, I'm into astronomy, so black holes could be the entrance to the other parallel universes.
But
for
other
all
people say
scientists
that
know.
could be black holes, or there's a lot of different ones. I don't want to get too into it, but a lot of
Yeah,
people say black
yeah.
holes get.
I mean,
A lot of people say that black holes, like, you either like can't come out of them, or they're a way to time travel, or Einstein, I think, claimed that. But
Yeah.
and then Stephen Hawking thinks they might have something to do with parallel universes. But the point is, this theory has a little bit more merit than the others, I would say, and it's probably the most
so
popular.
these are ranked according to.
Well, not
best
necessarily. I'm just telling you that this is the one most people believe.
Okay.
Yeah. The others are less popular, but still probable according to some scientists.
Okay.
Okay. So what do you
Going
think?
with the next one.
What do you think of that one, though? I mean, what do you think? Scale of 1 to 10.
You know me. Parallel universes. Yeah, sure. Why not? Why
Possibility.
couldn't there be? I mean, there's a fourth dimensions. I mean, why not?
Okay. All right. So the next one is Glitch in the Matrix. And I'll be honest with you, this is the one I probably think is less believable than all the others. Because you have to believe in one thing that's really unlikely to believe this. Okay, so this theory says that we're actually living in a simulation of sorts. Like, this reality we know is not real. It's like, I'm a sim lover, in case anyone doesn't know. I love playing The Sims. And The Sim is a simulation, right? So if you think about it like this, it's a game. And so all simulations tend to have glitches, where something happens, a little change is made, and it's just the reality is changed in some way. It's probably not very large. So this theory is saying that we're living in this simulation and we're experiencing glitches. And these little changes that we're noticing are the glitches.
So, ancient aliens could have come, take over Earth, and then put everybody into a sleep. And we're all just dreaming this.
Well, I think the theory is that it's more like a game. Like, yes,
Right, but
a
somebody
higher power
has
is
to be
controlling
playing.
it.
Yeah, I was
right.
going to say, somebody has to be playing this game.
Like, a higher power is controlling it, but yeah, there's glitches going on, and these are these changes we're experiencing, and then they're probably like, these
Aliens left
humans
the
are
game
smarter
running.
than we thought.
The aliens left the game running, and glitches are happening,
Right.
and nobody's there to fix
Just
it.
like when my sim gets stuck and I have to reset him, and then
Yeah,
he's like,
exactly.
I used to have a refrigerator here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I had to get rid of it. I had to do some redecorating while you were frozen.
You were going, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Our
Same
refrigerator was black yesterday, and now it's white.
I love The
What happened?
Sims. I'll never stop loving The Sims. But yeah, that theory's a little less likely.
Yes.
All right, this is the next most popular one, and that's time travel. So, this theory states that time travel exists, and various time travelers are moving through time and changing small things, and decisions are being made from the past to influence these small changes. Kind of like the butterfly effect. If anyone's ever seen that movie, it's like he does these small changes. He's able to go back to his past
Yeah.
And he
mean,
makes these
anything.
small changes, and then his whole future changes.
Right. Just
Right.
like Back to the Future.
Yeah. So people are saying that, like, time travel exists, and people are going back and, like, either making decisions, like maybe someone was, like, tickling Leonardo da Vinci or the Mona Lisa when she was, and that made her smile.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I don't know, someone told the artist for Curious George that a tail looks stupid.
My problem with that is, in the way I believe in time travel, and I know there's different ways to believe in time travel, is that if you go back and change something, nobody's going to remember the other thing that was. So if you believe that Jif used to be named Jiffy, if somebody went back and told the corporation and said, you know what, I think Jif sounds better than Jiffy, it'd become more popular, you would never remember Jiffy.
I guess that's true.
That's my only problem with time travel.
Right. And I'm not even going to attempt to understand that because, like, I barely understood the movie Inception. So, like, I have real issues with time travel, but I know you love time travel. So, I know that would probably be your top dream theory for this, but... And Albert Einstein, there's evidence he believed in time travel thoroughly.
Actually, he was not a big fan of time travel.
But he did say it was possible. I'm not saying he liked it. I'm just saying...
Theoretically, he says, if I can remember this right, you can go forward in time, but you cannot go back in time.
I think you're right about that. I think I did hear that before. But either way, he thought it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that... But
time
that
travel
fit.
is possible on a minute scale. I mean, they've already done, the research that shows that even seconds can pass just from going at extreme speeds.
Right.
So,
it's a possibility. But yeah, that's the second most popular theory. All right, the fourth one, I know you're going to love this one. This theory believes that these things are occurring, but through negative paranormal forces. But this obviously can't be scientifically tested. So they're basically saying either through witchcraft or black magic or Satanism.
Satan is always trying to change the words to my movies.
Whatever. But no, that they're causing these things. Like, they're trying to either freak the public out or they're just trying to...
draw in people that are gullible.
Yeah, they might just be trying to draw in people that, to believe this conspiracy theory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like...
It still sounds ridiculous.
I know.
You know me. Tell me my background. Tell me my background. No demons, no ghosts.
Yeah. Very much no paranormal. I know. But you know what? Even though I do believe some aspects of paranormal, this is very low on the totem pole. In fact, this is probably the theory that I believe the least.
Yeah, because what would be their motivation?
There's really none. I mean, to draw in people and freak them out. That's all I could think of.
Yeah, that'd be the only thing.
So that's the only one. All right, here's the last one, and this is the theory that I hold. This is the one that I think. This is number 5, and this is none of the above. Okay? So this theory says that we acknowledge that this is happening, but we don't know why. It's like, this is happening, but no one has an answer as to why. This could just be looped with us not knowing the purpose of life, or who killed John Benet Ramsey, or, other unsolved things we don't understand. We don't know why we sneeze. We don't know why we yawn. You know what I mean? Like, this could just be another thing where it's like, this is happening, but we don't know why. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of things I don't know the answer to.
I think I can see why.
And some tend to argue that it's a case of false memories, but I just feel like it's highly coincidental that all of these memories are occurring in millions of people, most without even speaking to one another about them before this. That's just where I am with it.
Well, see, what I've read online is that people do talk about these things. The only reason I found out about it is you talking to me. So it is, you could add false memories to somebody, or, if you were to ask me straight on, name some peanut butter that you grew up eating, you know, or tell me, naming quotes of movies or whatever. But it's all about the person and what they've experienced in their life.
It's personal opinion, definitely. Yeah. But I feel like, skeptic or not, like even you, who's like the skeptic of the skeptics, can even say, this is very strange, and can acknowledge the fact that there are some that you don't have an answer to. Would you agree with that?
Maybe a couple of them that I couldn't explain right now, but I'm sure that, somebody could figure it out in the future. Like a lot of the research that I've done is false memories is not the only one. You have misinformation effect, you have confirmation bias, you have misattribution of memories, incorrect recall. Like all of these different things kind of show how the human mind and its memory is not that great. I mean, I hardly remember things as a child, and some of the things that I do remember as a child, my mom would be like, I don't remember that happening.
No, listen, I totally agree. I walk in a room sometimes and I'm like, why am I here? I do that all the time. I agree that humans' memories are very faulty. Fair. What I think is peculiar, though, is that we're having these false memories and we're all remembering it as being the same thing. That's what I think is weird.
The one thing I put in my notes, and it's the last thing, is if you've ever been convinced that something is a particular way only to discover you've remembered it all wrong, if so, it sounds like you've experienced the phenomenon known as the Mandela Effect.
Right. But what are you saying? Like, what's your point?
That if you are misremembering something, or if you think one thing is one way and you find out that it's another, that's
so you're
just
saying
another way of saying.
It's like having deja vu. It's like, we don't know what that is, but that's what you're having.
Yes.
So it's like, you remember it being as that, and so do my 50 other friends over here. Well, that's just the Mandela Effect. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good way to look at it. I mean, I guess, conclusion is, I told you what I think. I think we just don't know. I think it's something that is happening. 100% it's happening. There's no denying that for me. Mm-hmm. It's happening, but no, I don't know why it is. Just like, we don't know why we yawn. We don't know a lot of things about our lives.
There's a lot about science that we don't know, and I try not to be too skeptical of everything. So maybe some things in the Mandela Effect might have merit, but I think people are going overboard with it. They're like constantly, oh, well, this is this.
You have to give it, it's new, it's fresh, it's new, and I think when people see things that they're like, they personally relate to, like the Chick-fil-A one hit hard home with me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, this is all wrong. It's not that way. And when people are insisting that, no, that's wrong, I think it infuriates people and it confuses them. And so they're like, that's why they get passionate about it. And they want to know, is it them or is it something else?
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's how it is for me.
Well, I just hope that the people that are listening, it's okay to believe in the Mandela Effect if you want to.
I think there's 100% proof.
But
I think there's 100% credibility to it in the sense of believing most of them.
Yeah, see, no, not for me. I believe that if you go back and you actually do... See, most people, they'll just research the Mandela Effect. They'll be like, oh, Mandela Effect.
No, I researched both sides when I was doing this.
I didn't say you didn't. But I'm saying a lot of people they'll get stuck and they'll just keep researching the same thing instead of typing in something as Mandela Effect debunked or reasons why behind the Mandela Effect is wrong. Just so you have both sides, so that way you can be like, okay, this I kind of believe in, this I do not.
Well, this kind of, every good researcher knows that's, the 1, 2, 3 rule about researching.
Not everybody out there is a researcher.
Right, and it's there are some people, I know my mom sometimes is guilty of this, is seeing one thing on the internet and believing it.
Yeah.
You can't trust hardly anything on the internet these days.
It's like Facebook. People post things online and they're
Yeah, and they use it like, so here, this is backing up my claim, when you can find, all you have to do is type in something, Mandela Effect evidence, and you'll find evidence for it being real, or Mandela Effect debunked, and you'll find evidence for your side. But what most people don't do is, what we're trying to do in this podcast is look at both sides and then make a judgment when you have both sides.
Maybe I should do my dissertation on the Mandela Effect.
I think you should.
Anyway.
Be a winner.
Yeah.
It would be a winner.
It would be a winner. Anyway, on that point, I think that we've covered
we're kind of at a
everything.
moot point now. I mean, I think we both know where we stand. I think
Yes.
you've given some merit to this, and I think maybe you agree with me that it's just something, it's happening, we just don't know why.
I think that our memories suck.
All right. Well, with that being said, you listeners, you know where I stand. You know where he stands. Where do you stand on this?
Leave some comments.
Leave some comments. Let us know. Maybe you have more research in the psychological science aspect debunking this. I would love to know more. Maybe you have more evidence of it being truthful, and you can DM that right to Gerald and let him see that.
Exactly. Or if you have
I'm already
evidence
convinced.
on my side, then comment it on there. Just make sure if you do like the podcast, please hit the like button on
Give
there.
a like button. We're actually, I do want to update them on this because we've worked so tirelessly.
Oh, yeah, last night.
Getting all of this stuff situated. So we are officially on SoundCloud. We are officially on Buzzsprout. We are officially on YouTube. We have a Twitter channel. We even have an email that we set up where on any of these websites you can find it. It's conspired@gmail.com. You can email us feedback or tell
What
us
you would like to hear in
what
the
you'd like to hear in the
future?
future. Feedback, negative or positive. If you want us
Constructive criticism, please.
if you want a shout out, or if you have a comment on a podcast that we aired and you would like us to share that information on the next one, we could definitely do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We are in the process of being approved by iTunes and Spotify. So as soon as we are approved by those, which should be at least by the end of this week, you'll be able to find Conspired on all of your favorite podcast listening apps. Like I know I listen to Overcast, he listens to Podbean. And so I think it should be as simple once we're approved. Type in Conspired and we'll come up.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So I believe our next podcast will be airing this Wednesday.
The way our podcast works is we try to have our podcast on the evenings that I have off work, because she works mornings and I work evenings, and we like to,
coincide with that. Yeah. So on time when we both have free, and it varies what day you might have free during the week. So it could be a Wednesday, a Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
So this week it happens to be a Wednesday. So you can look forward to episode 2 on Wednesday evening. And again, with the timing, I kind of already knew when we said it would be an hour that it would go over. But it's okay. I mean, I
think that if we keep saying an hour and it goes to an hour and a half or whatever, I'm still happy with it.
I listen.
Because if we say, we're going to go to an hour and a half, it could end up being 2 hours.
Exactly. And, I feel like when I get passionate about things, I don't want to just stop.
I know. You could talk on forever. We'd be on here for 4 hours.
I need to stop. I know I need to stop.
You guys would be able to take road trips and be able to let one...
Hey,
listen.
they were audiobooks. Now we got sweet podcasts.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. But, yeah, I think
Have we decided what our next one's going to be?
I don't think we have. I put a poll on Twitter today asking what category you'd like our next podcast to be about. So if you go to twitter.com/conspired, I believe I've had a couple votes, actually more than a couple votes for...
Was it paranormal?
No, it was pop culture conspiracy. So another, kind of like this, another pop culture conspiracy. And I've had a couple votes for true crime. So, and again, the Twitter is just getting started. So, but we've had a lot of good feedback already so far just from that pilot. So I'm looking forward as to what's to come. And I hope you guys really enjoyed our candid conversation. We're just, chilling, talking.
Yeah.
Holding in laughter.
Man, I don't hold it in.
Yeah, well, me. Yeah, but I think that just about wraps it up.
Yeah.
Right?
I think this is good.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversation. Okay, so thank you guys for tuning in to episode 1 of Conspired. Please, if you have enjoyed this, give us a like, subscribe,
Share
comment.
it with your friends.
Share it with your friends. I know that a lot of my friends are like, give me a new conspiracy podcast to listen to. Recommend it, people. Recommend it. If you liked it. If not, feel free to not.
And you guys at work, please don't have any rude comments.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Tune in this Wednesday for episode 2.
Yeah. And thanks for listening to Conspired.